Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be continuing with our series of explaining chapters from IB Business Management. Our chapter for right now is chapter 4.7, International Marketing. This is a high level only chapter, so if you're a standard level learner, come back in the next video for 4.8, which is going to be wrapping up Unit 4. But for those of you who are high level, please stay here. And we're going to be just given a really quick and simple summary of this chapter of international marketing. So let's get right into it. International marketing, what is it? That simply means the sale and marketing of a product in a foreign country. This can be done in a variety of ways. I'm going to explain the methods of entry into foreign markets, and we're going to use the example of an American company that wishes to expand into Spain. All right, so we're going to use that for all these, and I'm going to explain exactly how that be done. So the first method of entry into a foreign market is exporting. All right, so what you're going to do with exporting, that means you manufacture a product in your home country and sell it in the foreign country. In this case, you produce it in the United States and you sell it in Spain. You're transporting it from your home country to the country, the market you wish to expand into. Next is direct investment. All right, this is if you have an American company, they're going to create, what they're going to do is they're going to take the money, they're going to invest in Spain, and they're going to set up factories and a distribution channel within Spain. This means instead of creating in your country and sending it, you're going to instead set up shop, truly investing in the country, direct investment, and creating everything, distribution channel and factories you need in the country. This is considered more expensive an option because it is, setting up shop there, but also it's more secure because then you have everything there. Next is e-commerce. This is you produce your product, you have it sold online, and then a Spanish customer or a customer from any country in the world can come and buy it and you go and ship it to them. Later, we have joint ventures. This is when two companies go overseas together. So if we have one American company, they're going to partner with another American company, and together they're going to join together and go overseas. This has the advantage of you're spreading risks out over multiple companies. That's why people would do this. Also, just you can pull your resources. It's an easier transition when you have joint resources than if it's a company on its own. Then the last one is franchising and licensing. All right, this works pretty much the same way that franchising does within a country. Franchising, if you guys remember, a good example is McDonald's, where what you do is McDonald's sells the rights to a franchise to use the brand name, and it sells certain products to it, and then the franchise is the one who sells to the consumer. So the franchises are not really directly owned by McDonald's. Instead, they pay McDonald's to use their brand name, to use their image. And so that means people are going to come to them because they're like, well, it's a McDonald's. And then so that franchise makes money from all the customers that come in, and they pay McDonald's a small fee to be able to use their branding. And of course, they have to follow all the requirements of, providing Big Macs and McFlurries and McDonald's products because they're McDonald's franchise. Well, the exact same thing happens when it comes to international franchising. All you're doing is you have to follow what is the established franchise, what's the established business name of the company, and you're paying rights to them in a foreign country. So that's why you can see there are McDonald's all over the world. If you go to pretty much any country, my parents would even make jokes about it that you can never escape the golden arch. You go to India, you go to Spain, you go to Japan. I live in Andorra. You come here, there's McDonald's everywhere. That's because this is franchising. That companies or businesses are franchising, they're buying the rights to use McDonald's name because McDonald's is an internationally recognized brand, and so they have to, of course, follow McDonald's rules, but also they get all the benefits of using McDonald's name to drive in customers. All right, so then we get to the part of the chapter reevaluate international expansion, which has opportunities and threats that come with it. The opportunities are this. You can expand your market operations, so more money, which is the ultimate goal of a business. You can spread your risk among different markets at different stages because now you have a market, if you're like McDonald's, but you have a market in the United States, in Brazil, in Argentina, in Spain, in South Africa, in India, in Australia, and China. You have markets all over the place. So if one of them falls, you have backup plans. You have different alternatives. You're spreading your risk out, and you're creating more revenue streams. So you have more of a solid base for your company. Also, you can get marketing and production economies of scale. Economies of scale is what, remember, that means as you scale up the amount you're doing something, the easier it becomes, the more efficient it becomes. And so that's what happens when you have marketing. Well, if it's international, you can use you can use your marketing much more efficiently because now you can market everywhere. It's not that you have to focus and spend so much per, person to bring in. Instead, you can create this one marketing plan that works for the whole world. Same goes with production. When you have production, you get all the benefits of economies of scale because now you have a very large global customer base. The threats are, first, high barriers of entry. When you go to a new country, there are barriers of entry to get in there, legal, economic. You have to set up all your operations. You have to get your brand to be recognized by the people. Unless you're McDonald's or Apple, at first it takes some time for people to accept your brand. Also, you face strong competition from local industry. It's not like in your own country where people were like, well, this is an American brand and we're in the United States, so let's go buy from them. Instead, you have to go to India and you got to convince Indians why they should buy from your brand instead of all the local Indian brands that are already there. So you really have to compete with the people that are already there that have home court advantage on top of being able to convince your ideal customers. And you have to deal with differing customer demands because between each country, people have different ideas of what they're looking for in a product, and you have to know how to adapt. And that brings us to approaches to selling goods internationally. This is taking into account the fact that people in different countries want different things or are looking for different things. So how do you approach that? There are two approaches. One is the pan-global approach. This is saying cultural differences, what's that? We're going to do what we want. Basically, what you do with this is you create one type of product and you sell it everywhere. This means you have uniformity. This is like the iPhone. The iPhone's the same everywhere. If you go to an iPhone shop, same in Japan as in the United States, as in South Africa, you're going to buy the exact same iPhone. So it's a standardized product, standardized marketing across the globe. Global localization or glocalization is the other method or other approach to selling goods internationally. And this is adapting to a differentiated marketing mix with the local culture. This is saying in Japan, we understand their culture is this way. We're going to market to them like this. But in Egypt, all right, we understand that their thought process is a bit different. We're going to market to them this way. And in Canada, we understand they have this type of thought. So then we're going to market to them this way. And of course, languages and the way of your products. We see this, for example, with McDonald's, that they have different foods, different meals that they'll provide in different parts of the world. For example, in Japan, they'll have certain Japanese styled meals. In India, they might have certain kind of India style meals. They might not include, for example, beef in their products because they understand that the people don't eat beef, or the majority of people don't eat beef due to religious beliefs. For example, I've heard they had a special product in Texas in the United States that was like very American. It was like a pizza cheeseburger thing. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly, but there was some kind of like specific McDonald's offering in Texas based on the local culture there. So that's the idea here is you have a global localization. With each place, your marketing and your product is different. You're understanding the cultural differences and you're appealing to them. Each of these approaches has their own advantages and disadvantages, of course. But those are the two main approaches that you can have when selling goods internationally. Finally, we have branding in a local market. All right. So there are a couple final principles we just have to understand when it comes to branding in the local market. One thing, a strong brand always helps to expand overseas. It's good to be something like McDonald's or Apple when they have very good, strong, established brands. So now let's say they want to expand into Namibia and they've never been to Namibia before. Well, they can do that because the people in Namibia are going to have more or less an idea from just what they've heard of McDonald's or Apple. But say you're a much smaller local business, like the place where I lived. All right, the city where I lived in Pittsburgh in the United States, and there we had Eaton Park was a famous restaurant. Let's say they wanted to expand into Namibia. Well, they would have a lot of difficulty because I'm sure most of you watching have never even heard of them. So that's an example of a not strong brand. That makes it hard to globally expand. Or even if they want to expand to other states of the United States, they would have difficulty. Successful brands, right? Successful global brands enjoy marketing economies of scale. Okay, because this means when you have a large base of customers that recognize your brand, it makes it easier to market. The same way when you have a large customer base, it makes it easier and cheaper to produce. Well, here it's easier and cheaper to market because you start having brand consistency. People know what to expect from you. You get some savings, right? You get savings on the spending that you have to market your company, and you get loyalty because people start recognizing, all right, this is Apple. I'm loyal to Apple. I like Apple. I know who Apple is. And so that means you'll see a lot of companies that don't have to advertise. I remember one person said something to me that pointed out that like Starbucks you've never seen an ad for Starbucks on TV before or even online. Like no one's ever seen a Starbucks ad. Why? Because Starbucks has such a recognizable brand. It's global everywhere. I mean, in the United States, equally as I lived here in Andorra, people will go to Starbucks regularly to get their coffee. Because it's just such a consistent and recognizable brand. So this is for them marketing economies of scale personified, and exemplified in the most perfect sense. Their marketing has worked perfectly because they barely even have to do anything, and people come in swarms to their stores. So that's really the epitome of an economy of a marketing economy of scale. Finally, that you must consider the local language and the local culture. You must make sure to not offend local sensibilities and, of course, the language. This is the final kind of thing I'll leave you guys with. My business teacher showed us this funny list of slides a while back talking about translation issues, translation mishaps. That, when companies go between cultures, they have to translate languages. And sometimes they don't do that correctly because they don't account for certain expressions or certain sayings that there are in the local languages. The one example that I heard, which was something that I didn't even know, it was for an airline company, all right? And their expression was flying in leather. And so they were advertising in a Spanish-speaking country, and they translated that expression literally. They translated it to volando en cuero, which, as I've come to find out, that means flying naked in Spanish. En cuero means naked, apparently, which I will tell you, that is something I didn't even know. I know how to speak Spanish. I did not know that. So had I been the translator for this company, I would have translated the expression the exact same way, and I would have made that exact same mistake. So that is something you have to take into account, is you have to have local context. You have to have people who can inform you about the local language and culture, because otherwise you can have mishaps like that. Now, that's like a funny example, but there are commercials, for instance, of companies that, maybe they're a Western company, they're an American company. They have an ad that's a bit, a little bit of C, a little bit PG-13 rated commercial. And maybe in the US that's fine, but you go to Japan and all of a sudden you're offending them significantly. Or you go to another country that's maybe a bit more conservative and all of a sudden you've offended them. So that's something to take into account. Or, making racist jokes, of course, is a no-no, things like that. Anyway, but that's the end of this video. That's the explanation of international marketing. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions, do make sure to leave them below. I'm more than happy to answer them. And with that, thank you for watching. The best of luck in the rest of your studies, and good night, y'all.